you think of me?
Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, episode 21 of our podcast. We are the greatest streamers that you have never heard of. Of course, I'm back this week from my week off. Nitro, who's up on this side above me, he is back from his few weeks off.
What's up, everybody?
And of course, we are with our very special guest for today, Dr. Barron Bell, coming back onto the podcast today. Thank you so much for coming back on to be with us, Barron. We absolutely appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem. I love you guys.
Oh, and thank you so much, Ads, for that host. Appreciate it, brother. So yeah, we are back and running. It's been an interesting few weeks. We've been off
We're back
here and
from
there.
the technical difficulties and the vacations.
Yeah, and I want to give a special shout out and a thank you to everyone that did tune in last week, because I get like a stream summary of like how the stream's done and stuff. Even with all the technical issues, even with the stream freezing and stuff, so many of you came, hung out with Nitro, kept
Appreciate
our
it.
numbers and our average viewership up. I greatly appreciate you guys doing
Boosted
that.
the old self-esteem.
You know, thank you so much. Like, I don't know another man that can have a frozen screen for that length of time and still hold like double-figured viewers. So that's pretty impressive, Nitro. That's a pretty impressive takeaway from that.
What can I say? It's my charming personality.
Exactly. They come for the personality, man. They come for it. That's what it is. Ads is asking, did you like the game, Nitro?
Which one? Oh, the Avengers game? Yeah, I thought it was pretty sweet. I didn't really get to play it a whole lot, but I thought it was pretty sweet.
Nice. Recommend picking it up? Do you think it's something that'll be a worthwhile game to play more of?
I don't know. I gotta see some more of it, because I feel like they only had a small chunk. Obviously, it's the beta, so I feel like I need to see a bit more of it before I say yay or nay on it. I don't want to say no, because it has strong like Spider-Man PS4 vibes for me. I really like that game.
That can only be a good thing. That game was awesome. Yeah. So let me do a couple of quick shout outs. Just to get these out the road in the chat. Like up above, Dr. Barron Bell there, you'll see Gamer Grind Co. logo. Of course, the official sponsors of Comics in the Cross. The #1 coffee for gamers. Hashtag on that grind. So of course, go ahead and check them out. Woo. Hold on, I can get the chat bot working. I know what I'm doing. There we go. Go ahead, click on that link to check out what Gamer Grind has available. All the amazing coffees that they've got. I've been trying a couple of their coffees from actual like different streamers and different content creators that have got their own coffees. We've been trying out Rage Mode this month, and it's absolutely amazing. Love it. For Super Bias, shout out to him here on Twitch. Been really enjoying that coffee. That's been a really good one, so it's well worth checking out. While you're over there enjoying that coffee, of course, go ahead and pick yourself up the Comics in the Cross coffee mug and sticker that is available in their store, because of course you want that in your cupboard to use to drink your morning coffee. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want our logo plastered everywhere? Because of course you would. Also, I want to give a special shout out, because I'm going to start promoting him a little bit. Does new link work? Let's find out. There we go. New link up in the chat there. That official song that you heard at the start of our opening there is called Geek by a Christian geek rapper called Eric Steven. You know, Christian geek rapper. 3 things that you don't usually get 2 of those that go together. So finding somebody that encompasses all 3. Go and check his...
We've been looking for intro music for a while, like
an official song for it, and like I literally I checked out his stuff. He's actually been following us on Instagram for a while, and I just didn't really click that he was a musician, and then all of a sudden it just clicked, and I just went and checked out his stuff. And that's a link to his Spotify. Go check him out. His stuff's awesome. It's phenomenal stuff. It's completely based in geek culture and good Christian messages to it. And
I really appreciate it, Eric. Thank you so much for doing that.
And heard that song Geek, and I'm like, that's perfect. That's us. Yeah. That is like us. You love it when you hear a song like that that's got so many inside jokes and references for geeks, and you'd realize you understand every single one of them. You're like, yep, that's the song for us.
I get it.
So that song is going to be the official opening song when we launch on the podcast from now on. and it's also the song I'm currently working on putting a trailer together for our Twitch and YouTube channels. It's going to feature that song and his stuff. So go show Eric some massive love. Go show him so much appreciation. Get those views up on Spotify for him. He's an absolutely great guy. I believe he's just starting to tour again. He's going to start to do some more shows and stuff like that. Obviously that's kind of been put on hold with the whole pandemic situation, but he's looking to start traveling and doing that again. So want to give a massive shout out to him, and thank you for giving us permission to use Geek as our official song. It fits us perfectly. It really does. Jay Sanchez in the chat saying, "Hey everyone, how you doing? We are doing absolutely awesome." John, how are you doing today, brother? Thank you for coming to join us as we talk to Dr. Bell. So news-wise this week, Nitro and I were literally even talking in the lead up to this week of like, there's not that much massive news had happened this week. So we thought if we talk about any news stuff, it's probably going to be looking at what happened during DC fandom, talking about the trailers, and all that sort of situation. And then that quickly changed.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who's not aware, we've seen the passing of Chadwick Boseman, obviously best known to the geek community. I thank you so much, Blue Dog. Thank you for, of course, as I choke as I say that. Thank you, Blue Dog, for coming in. Thank you for that follow. Welcome to the Comic Clan. We greatly appreciate that. Hope you enjoy the show today. But yeah, we heard about the passing of Chadwick Boseman, best known to geek culture as King T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean, I was in, so I went and saw New Mutants this past weekend, and I was in the theater when you had messaged me, Cross, because you were like, because prior to that we were talking, like you said, like we didn't know what we were going to be talking about, but this was prior to the interview, and you said, well, I guess we have something to talk about now, and then you showed me the screenshot of post about it. I'm like, no way.
Yeah, and Blue Dog in the chat saying there, man, may he rest in peace. Like, yeah, I'll be completely upfront.
Yeah, guys. In honor of Chadwick, I wore my Black Panther shirt.
Yeah.
That you guys know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Wakanda forever.
Much respect.
You know
what I'm saying?
Much respect to Chadwick Boseman and
to
everything he did. Like, you know, it's like
so
many people, just actors that do on great roles, but like I love hearing all the news stories that are starting to come out about him, about just what a great guy he was, all the amazing stuff he did, all the charity work he done, all the hospitals he visited, all the amazing role model that people are saying. Like, I think one of the things that's heartbreaking is seeing all these young kids, like with their Avengers figures, doing like funerals for Black Panther.
Yeah.
You know, all these like young black kids as well that are talking about how big and amazing of a role model he was for them, and to see a black superhero like on the big screen like that, which you know, of course, Black Panther was the first big black superhero in the comics as well. So it was amazing to see him take that role to the screen.
You know,
too.
My wife said something that was very profound. She said that, you know, he is just as much of a superhero in life as he was in the movies.
Yeah.
He did every movie that he did while he was going under chemotherapy and operations and all of that. And he was just working. He's just working. And you would never have known.
No.
You never knew that he was going through what he was going through.
Yeah, because he was diagnosed with stage 3 in 2016, and when I got home, or the next day after you had told me, Cross, I watched Black Panther, and I was just looking at the shape that he was in, like, and when he was doing, you know, where he had to fight to be king, and he was fighting M'Baku, and he was jacked, and I'm like, that was years after he was like diagnosed with cancer. Like, he was putting in work.
Yeah, that's just going through treatments. Yeah, it's like it's ridiculous.
And Dr. Bell, I knew you and I were talking before. Like, he just seemed like a genuinely nice dude. You know, a lot of people like in Hollywood, they don't seem like good people. You know, like, not to overgeneralize or anything like that. But
you know, it's interesting. You'd see an actor and you say, oh, they played a great character on screen, but then you find out in real life they were just jerks.
Yeah.
That's not the case with Chadwick Boseman. You know, he was just as genuine. And I mean, I guess you could tell that too from the types of roles he took, from, you know, Jackie Robinson to James Brown to Thurgood Marshall. I mean, you know, the types of roles that he chose to take were like groundbreaking roles. They were roles that really kind of inspired generations. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of actor he was. But I think that's the type of man he was too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that he was
100%.
visiting terminal kids with terminal cancer while he was battling with terminal cancer, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to look at a man who had every right to be self-focused, I mean, the dude was battling colon cancer for 4 years.
Yeah.
He had every right just to focus on himself and focus on what he was going through. And that man did nothing but give back to the people around him, give back to his fans, give back to the people who appreciated him. It's like he took none of it for granted.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he just got married, from what I hear in the news.
Oh,
so
wow, really?
That's a double. It's a double whammy, because it's like, oh, yes, he's going through all this stuff, but his wife, his widow now, is a new bride, new wife, now new widow. And I mean, I just say that my prayers to her and the rest of his family, because I know that they are really hurting right now, just as much as we are, or I mean more than we are. Absolutely.
No.
Well, just to show you how much of an impact he has, and this is super superficial, but that tweet where they were announcing his official Twitter page that was announcing where he passed is the most liked tweet ever.
Yeah.
It has over 7 million
Oh my
likes
gosh.
and 3 million retweets. So
yeah, I mean,
even Twitter said this is the most liked tweet ever. So like that goes to show you how much of an impact that dude had.
Yeah.
Across all forms of media, across all fan bases, everything.
Yeah. And I think he's an impact here in our chat scene as well. Like Jay Sanchez saying, "Rest in peace, Chadwick." Hey Scottish Hippie, glad you could come and join us, man. No worries. And yeah, we're talking about the news at the moment. Chadwick Boseman's passing. And yeah, he was an inspiration. He really was. The amount of stuff he did, the roles he took, like Barron was talking about, everything about the man was an inspiration. And I can't imagine what his family's feeling and going through right now, but they can be proud at the legacy that this man left behind. He left a phenomenal legacy behind of who he was, and a phenomenal inspiration of just what we should be like as human beings.
Yeah.
He really did.
I mean, he set the bar for representation in media too. Like, you look at films that are coming out, like specifically in the Marvel universe, like you have Shang-Chi, and you have a whole lot of other Marvel movies that I don't know would be possible if they hadn't like set the stage with Black Panther.
Yeah.
And I think that from the beginning of the MCU, they'd been planning on that type of representation. It was just kind of slowly but surely building.
Yeah.
It just kind of reminds me of how when back when we first saw Black Panther in the comics, Stan Lee did the Fantastic Four story, and the Black Panther was prominent in that story, and it was a fantastic way to bring a really substantial Black character into comics at the time. And of course, it was during a lot of social unrest, and of course, I mean, that's what comics should do. Comics should reflect the time that it's in. And so and the fact that the movie being so impactful as it was, I mean, such a blockbuster financially, but also culturally and worldwide beloved story. It was just amazing, and it's a massive loss. His death is a massive loss, and I'm not really sure how Marvel moves forward with the franchise. To tell you the truth.
I have no clue.
Well, that was a question I wanted to pose as well, because it was something I seen posted on Facebook today, and I shared it in social media. If you follow us on our social media pages, you might have seen me post it earlier today. But someone was suggesting possibly, or asking the question of, like, do they recast T'Challa and have someone else take up that mantle of Black Panther?
I honestly, I like Letitia Wright.
Or do they pass it over to Letitia Wright Shuri, who in the comics, Shuri obviously does become Black Panther herself at one point. Do we take that role and just put her in the role of Black Panther now, and leave that respect to Chadwick Boseman as like T'Challa, like he was T'Challa, and put the character to rest?
You know what? I saw a lot of those comments too, and I think I do believe that they should recast, but they should not recast anytime soon. I think that they should, like in the comics, pass the mantle of the Black Panther over to Shuri. Let her let her settle into that role for a minute, and then just like with like James Bond or any other character that has multiple actors attached, you do it like that. You know what I'm saying? Because the Black Panther role bigger than just one person. Although we love Chadwick and we loved his representation of it, it can't end with him. It can't.
No.
It's too important to just end with one person. So let the sting go by first. Pass it to Shuri, which is perfect timing because of course that's what happened in the comic books. But then slowly start the vetting process to try to figure out who could actually in those shoes. And people will accept it after some time, but right now it's just too soon.
Yeah, it feels even weird talking about this.
And
it does.
And that's it. It's so bizarre because like you think just a couple of years ago when Black Panther came out and the success it got, and to think about recasting anybody from that, like everybody was cast so perfectly in those roles, and it's like
because I mean he was like moving forward, he was going to be the cornerstone of
he was going to be
like,
one of the cornerstones, one of the new major Avengers, and it's like I mean they were already like Black Panther 2 is already you're basically getting started. You know, the next Avengers movie was undoubtedly going to feature him in a high profile role. They were definitely pushing like him and Spider-Man and Captain Marvel to be like the next big heroes to take those mantles. I think for me personally, I kind of agree with you, Barn. I think recasting right now is too soon. Like, create a plot point, create a reason. If we're going to recast T'Challa, create a reason for him not to be there and have to abdicate the throne for a little while, and give it to Shuri. Letitia Wright's a phenomenal actress. I think she would do an amazing job.
I understand she's ready a Christian too.
She's on fire. She's an on fire Christian. She loves Jesus. And so but she's a fantastic actor. She's phenomenal actor. She can do it. She can do it. You know, I mean, I'm with you, Cross. Give T'Challa a believable reason of being there. And then let some time pass. Let some healing happen. And you know, let the character mature with Shuri at the mantle, in the mantle of the Black Panther, and then eventually come up with a new storyline that will reintroduce the Black Panther as another character, as another actor rather.
Because you can have both of them running side by side, and you can even have both T'Challa and Shuri be different versions of the Black Panther. They already did that in the comics, you know. Like took over, like Shuri took over as Black Panther and sat on the throne of Wakanda, while T'Challa, I think, was running around like Hell's Kitchen as you know, another vigilante at the time, and it's like they've done it before. Absolutely. There's a way to do that, so I think that's the right way to go. Like personally, for me, I would like to see Shuri take the mantle, at least for now, because I don't want to sit and try and imagine someone else as T'Challa at this point. Let Chadwick's, you know, his representation of T'Challa stand for a while before we look at someone else taking it.
Just like, you know, for instance, you guys remember, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys are Bond fans. You know, everybody has their quintessential Bond. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's always going to be Sean Connery. For me, Bond is always Sean Connery. He is the pinnacle of smooth. He's just like, man, you know what I'm saying? He's got that swagger. But you know, that's me. You know, for other people, it may be, you know, what's the latest guy? Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, but you get the option, you get the choice. You get a certain generation's version of that character, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree. I think that's a good point.
And I think that's it. I think that's definitely a good way to go about it, because T'Challa's stories aren't done. There's still so much you can do with the character, and I think completely finishing the character off isn't the right way to go. But they just have to handle it. But knowing Marvel and Disney and what they do, it's like I trust them completely to handle it in the right way. I think they will.
But
But for anyone that's in the chat, any fond memories of seeing Chadwick Boseman, any what it meant for him to play Black Panther in your life, or any of the other many roles that he did play. He was a busy man. For the last 4 years of having colon cancer, the man never stopped working. He never stopped working in high, profile roles. So like, all the more power to that. But we're going to move on, obviously. But I just want to say it to him. He has passed away now. But thank you so much, Chadwick, for everything that you did and the role that you played and the inspiration that you set for all of us. Much respect.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Much respect, brother, to you.
Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever.
No problem. All right, so we're going to start moving on a little bit. We, of course, have Dr. Barron Bell back with us this week. As you can see, he's right there. Not hidden or anything. He's writing.
What up?
Right to my right, I think.
Yep, and you're right. Yep. So for any of y'all who've been watching the show for a while, you might recognize Dr. Bell. He was here. He has been on the show before. He came on before to help promote his new comic, Dominion: Fall of the House of Saul. At the time, we were waiting for the release. That comic is now officially out, available for purchase. So, Baron, for anyone who doesn't know about Dominion and doesn't know the story, who may have missed out last time, what is Dominion? What's the story about it?
Dominion, I'm going to do the elevator pitch, okay?
Go for it, elevator pitch.
Dominion, and this is please take note for you comic book artists, potential comic book artists and writers. Please, an elevator pitch is a short pitch to just deliver your whole story in a way that can be very clear and concise, but very short. The elevator pitch for Dominion is a sci fantasy space opera inspired by the book of 1 Samuel in the Bible. That's the elevator pitch: sci fantasy space opera inspired by 1 Samuel in the Bible. Now, for those of you guys who are not familiar with the story, it's really the rise of the kingdom of Israel. It's the rise of King Saul. It is the events that precede David and Goliath. The difference is it happens in space, and all of my characters are anthropomorphic versions of the biblical characters. And so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Another way to think of it is it's Star Wars meets Narnia.
Yeah.
It really is like an intergalactic sci-fi fantasy romp.
Yeah.
that pretty much is derived from the events that happened in the Bible.
And I know you talked about this last time we streamed together, but you're planning on doing, there's 3 parts to it, right? So you just released.
Yeah. We're doing 3 100-page graphic novels that span the 3 major kings of the Bible. So we got King Saul. Then that's the first 3 books that we're doing right now. That should culminate Q1 2021. We got David. That's going to his storyline picks up after that. That's going to take us all the way through 2021, and then of course King Solomon is going to happen in 2022. So you'll have a nice thick omnibus after probably in this probably Christmas 2022.
That's awesome.
So that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. But awesome. But it all takes place in the Dominion context. It is these stories, but it's the Dominion versions of these stories, which is not word for word or anything like that, but it is heavily derived and heavily inspired by the events in the Bible.
Yeah, one of the cool things that I liked, and I'm not going to spoil the first chapter for those of you who haven't had a chance to get it yet, but just the way that you portrayed the kingdoms, just right at the offset in outer space. It's like the border, like space, and then you have the planets are the cities. It's so like clever.
It's
smart.
So well done. It really is. And massive thank you to Dr. Bell as well, who did send us out an early one of that. Isaac and I talked a little bit about it a few weeks ago, and just reading it, honestly, guys, if you're intrigued to check this out, check out chapter 1. Yeah. If you're not sure about the book at all, check out chapter 1. The first 4 pages, I believe, are still available for preview. I put the link in the chat. It's like chapter 1 really leaves you where a first chapter should. It gives you a good introduction, and it leaves you like, okay, I need to know what happens now.
Yeah.
I literally thought, I was thinking after I read it, like, how is he going to fit all this stuff into just 2 more comics? Like 2 more chapters for the story of Saul. Like, how is he going to fit that in there? It's like, there's so much
You
stuff.
know what? And yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. There's so much. And listen, you know, I'm a Bible history nut. I'm a history nut. I mean, the thing is, it's like, because of the fact that it's not like a word for word type thing, or it's not an event for event type thing. It's like, it starts with the baseline of this event, and then of course take that and run with it in my imagination to kind of like figure out how it would look in a Dominion context. So it doesn't all fit exactly, but you'll see like the major plot points happen.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. I just go from plot point to plot point, as long as it's like a major thing. You know, in the Bible, there's so many kind of tangents that a story can go off into, and I don't go all the way. And then of course there are some things that I kind of change, as far as gender roles are, you know, kind of like a little bit more equitable in Dominion, because of course, you know, the women need to be stronger. You know what I'm saying? And they need to have more representation. They need to be a little bit more balanced. And so that takes the story in different directions too. And so, you know, I somehow figured out, myself and my writing team, you know, Daniel Hancock and a couple of other people who are helping to edit, but do our best to stay true to the biblical text as the major plot points are concerned. So you're going to see Saul loses favor with the Almighty. Saul gets a challenge to his throne through David. Does not necessarily take too well to having a challenger. He kind of spirals into madness, leads to a whole lot of detrimental effects on him and his family. And so those are major plot points, right? Those actually happened in the Bible. Those they did. But then I take some tangents with, oh, the queen, she has a storyline. Oh, the Princess Michael, she has a completely different storyline from in the Bible. And so that's how we kind of determine, okay, it needs to be a good story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it needs to have good, solid characters. So it's more of a character study than anything. And that's kind of where it started with me thinking, okay, there's not enough about Saul, and I want to know more about Saul, and I want to know his pathology and all of that other stuff.
One thing I really noticed.
Sorry, I just want to jump in before you go there, Nitro.
No,
just shout out, thank you to Terminus Media for following us and joining the Comic Clan. Massive shout out to Terminus Media, which, if you all don't know, Terminus Media are the ones actually producing Dominion. So thank you so much for following us on Twitch. Sorry, that follow came in. On you go, Nitro.
Oh, you're good, man. One thing that I noticed after reading the preview was Queen Ahinoam, right? Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
He's been working on that since last time.
Dude, I've been working on it.
Yeah.
Was her relationship
on the website? I spell it phonetically.
Yeah, I know. I even got it wrong after I read that our last stream, but it's all good. I really liked her relationship. The relationship between Jonathan and Saul, but her relationship with Jonathan was really cool. And like, you just got a glimpse of it, you know, when he like basically goes to his room, you know, in the preview, and you know, she's just having a little chat with him. That was really cool, because I was raised by a single mom, so just seeing that, just seeing a strong woman role in that was
Yeah, I mean,
you hit the nail on the head, Nitro. You hit the nail on the head. This is about war, but it's also about family. And family comes in all shapes and sizes. And you know, sometimes there's 2-parent home, sometimes there's 1-parent home, but there's still the traits of a father and a mother that a lot of people will be able to latch onto.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry, Cross, you were going to say?
No, I was just going to say, it's like, yeah, you have an amazing way of kind of like just drawing in what draws people to read about this family, and in a way that you don't really get to see. You know, like, we get to see the Queen and we get to see the Princess as actual prominent characters in this, you know, as actual personalities. I mean, they're barely even mentioned, if at all, in the actual, you know, scripture in that time. And I think I said it during when I was talking with Isaac about it on the podcast, was like, even with King Saul, you know, King Saul generally is, when he's talked about in terms of the Bible, it's usually he's a villain, you know, because he's talked about in the way that, like, oh, he's hunting after David, and like within the first few, like, I think it's in the preview, the first 4 pages, you get to see it. You actually are able to kind of, like, within me anyway, you drew out sympathy. I felt so sympathetic towards this character, because he's having that nightmare in his bed, and it's reliving the conversation he had with Samuel, and being told that, you know, the Almighty had left him, he was no longer with him. And you know, you see that reaction. It's like, you see that reaction of that anger and that confusion, and like he tries to beg, and he tries to barter, and he tries to, you know, he tries to do whatever he can. And when he wakes up in that dream, it's like you feel so sympathetic, because this guy's world has just been destroyed in that one moment. And I've never felt sympathy like that for Saul before. I've read those stories plenty of times, and I've never felt that sympathy for Saul as I did, like, reading it in that one.
And you're right. I mean, you know, and typically when you read the biblical text of First Samuel, you I think because of the way it's written, and I'm not sure if it's just in different translations differently, but you do see Saul as more of a villain character, as more of this kind of an evil king. But, you know, we all don't start out bad. You know what I'm saying? In life, as children, as kids, born with malicious intent. You know what I'm saying? That develops over time, due to a lot of different circumstances or whatever. It doesn't just happen. And the thing is, when Saul first became king, just a regular dude. He didn't even expect to happen.
Yeah.
Thrust upon him.
Yeah.
So it's almost kind of like, you know, like a kid who gets drafted into the NBA or into the NFL off the street. They're first on the street a day before, and then they get the draft, and then they're a millionaire.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you expect them to behave if there isn't a transition time between the two things, between poverty and becoming a millionaire? Of course, you're going to wow out and spend your money and probably go bankrupt when your career is over. That's what happened. It's the same thing with what happened to Saul. At first, he was just this tall, handsome young man who had no clue.
Yeah.
It was actually an object lesson given by God to the people of Israel to say, this is what you want because you asked for a king, because everyone else around you had a king. So I'm going to give you a king, but guess what? He's not going to be perfect at all. As a matter of fact, he's going to be kind of like your worst nightmare.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Saul himself, though, I mean, he didn't know. It's like he's just a regular dude. It's like, so I'm trying to get at the heart of him as a flawed character, not as a villain.
Yeah. And it definitely comes across. So I just want to catch up in the chat here. Humor, who is Cameron from the One Geek 411, good friends of ours, saying good afternoon. It's like, good to see you, Cameron. Let me do a quick shout out for them.
Yeah, I mean,
go and give them a follow on that link there, guys. They're an absolutely amazing channel. And to Neva Candida, greetings and salutations from Kansas. Neva, thank you so much for coming in, being part of the chat today. Glad that you could come and join us.
I think that's a good point, though, like regarding villains. Like, you know, you look back at some of the best movies that have like villains, and like the ones that are the most intriguing, the villain has a good point, or they're coming from a perspective that you can relate to, you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
look at Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin in Netflix Daredevil. Okay, that is one of the best villain constructions I've ever seen in my life, because
100%.
you can empathize with the dude. You can listen, his face and his the inner dialogue that you see in his face as he's acting, as he's thinking, as he's kind of, you know, trying to figure out what his next step is. You don't know what his next step is. You don't know if it's going to be evil intent, or is it going to be trying to support his wife, if he's going to just try to do something good because it's good, but then again because he's done some bad. You don't know if it's good.
He's trying to outweigh, you know, what he's done.
True motives.
Yeah.
So it's complicated. Those are the best kind of villain characters.
Yeah, and they could have played it like a mustache twirling villain, but they didn't. They went
Yeah,
deep and they tried to make it relatable. And yeah, I agree,
they went
100%.
deep.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
Complicated.
phenomenal villain.
That's doing the work though. That's picking for the higher fruit. You got to do the work when you're writing these characters. I teach two comic book publishing courses, one for Liberty University, one for George Fox University. And I tell both of my groups of students, it's like, um, before you actually draw, do a character profile.
Hmm.
I see all of the behind the scenes, all of the vital statistics, who this person is, height, weight, all of that stuff is fine. And then tell me about their backstory, tell me about trauma, belief system, um, you know, just all of that stuff. Because you start writing, you have to know, you got to know your character. You got to know, because then when the conflict happens, you know how they will respond. Every character has an archetype. Every in writing, there are only a certain number of archetypes that are in all movies, narrative, fiction, literature. You choose an archetype. So if it's going to be a Boy Scout for your hero, let him be a Boy Scout, and so you kind of know how the Boy Scout will respond to conflict. If it's a jaded, reluctant hero, you kind of know how the jaded, reluctant hero will respond to conflict. Batman and Superman are not the same kind of hero.
Hmm.
They're two different kinds of heroes, and they respond to conflict differently.
Hmm.
You wouldn't know that unless you know the backstory. You wouldn't know that unless you know the pathology. You wouldn't know that Batman's upbringing was completely different than Superman's upbringing. Superman was born in a two-parent household. Batman was born in he wasn't born, but he was left in a household that had no parents, that were both murdered in front of him.
Yeah.
So they both grow differently and they both respond to conflict differently.
Yeah.
But see, that's the work you got to do to know your characters.
It's funny you said that because like when I was in college, I had an illustration course, and one of the assignments was you had to create a character from scratch, and you were going to draw them in three different scenarios, whatever scenarios you wanted. But we had to do the same thing. We had to come up with a backstory for the character, like yeah, like the statistics, the height, weight, what did they look like, but like
Mm-hmm.
where they came from, what the struggle was, all that stuff. And it's almost like, even taking the story and setting that aside for a second, it changes the way that you approach the visual look of the character too, because it's almost like the
No,
drawing,
absolutely.
it's almost like your drawing is like super powered now that you have all that information that's backing up what you're drawing. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, if you have a soldier who is a reluctant hero, and he's reluctant for a reason, maybe because he's seen so much war, he doesn't want to fight.
Yeah.
So that's going to affect his exterior appearance. What if he
Hmm.
has a scar? What if
Yeah.
he has sunken eyes? What if he has a hunch because he's so tired all the
Yeah.
time? And so you know that from the backstory, you know that from the character profile. And like you said, Nitro, you go in armed with so much knowledge that you can see it in your head before you
Yeah.
actually draw it.
Yeah, and it adds so much dimension to the story that like a reader probably is not going to consciously know that or notice that, but their subconscious is going to pick up on that, you know. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah,
It's the same
absolutely.
thing that we were talking about last time about, when you see a tree, you see green, you see the green foliage, but if you really really look, like there's some crazy colors, like,
Mm-hmm.
there's like purples and blacks and blues and stuff that you aren't consciously picking up, but your brain is picking up, and it's making more of a rounded picture, you know.
And you're right. And we got to give our audience more credit. Smarter, they're savvier these days. You know what I'm saying? They read. A lot of our audience, they are fans of really good solid storytelling, and you can't, and they know, and they can spot a phony a
Yeah.
mile away. They can see when you're just being when you're phoning it in. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why some movies really impactful, and that's why some movies just suck. And
Yeah.
and I hate to say it, and I hate to be just blunt, but just there's so much crap out there. It just sucks because
Yeah.
people aren't doing the work. They're just phoning it in.
Yeah.
They're relying upon special effects, action, and not doing anything in regards to character development.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I don't have time for that. And so in my writing and in my teaching, you know, I'm really trying to elevate the game. And then of course with the Dominion and other stories that I tell, because I'm a Christian, I'm trying to infuse some of my faith into the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost kind of like, it's not like even an afterthought, because this is who I am. It's automatically baked in.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just who it is. That's just who I am.
I wanted to shout out Ads in the chat, said he just ordered his copy of Dominion, so he's going to be reading it after the stream. So
Yeah, that's
Hey,
awesome.
listen, any guy, if you guys have ever have any questions, or if you you know, want to just chat with me, you can reach me at baron.bell@terminusmedia.com. I think it's baron.bell, or you can just do contact@terminusmedia.com. Contact@terminusmedia.com. You can just go on our Twitter feed, which is Dominion Comic, at Dominion Comic. On Instagram, we're Dominion.comic on Instagram as well. I answer any and every question. I'm a teacher, so I don't care what question it is. You know, just send it to me, whatever. And you never know, your question may end up in our next book. So, you know,
that's
because
awesome.
we're gonna have a nice author section in the back of the book, and we will be putting questions in the back of the book.
Awesome. And for everyone in chat, I've just gone ahead and thrown those in there, the social media links for everyone. Go and keep up to date with Dominion. As we said, this is only chapter 1 of the book, so this will help you keep up to date and get a little bit of insider what's going on with Dominion leading up to the rest of the books, and this specific one and the ones that are yet to come. And then of course I've thrown in a link as well to the shop at Terminus Media, where you can go and purchase it just like Ads did, and check out chapter 1 for yourself.
So, selfishly speaking, one of my favorite things when I consume media, whether it's like comics or video games or whatever, like graphic novels or whatever, is I love the extras that the author or that the artist puts in. And I think, because I'm looking at the preview right now that you sent over, and again, yeah, thank you for doing that so we had a chance to read it. But I'm looking at the front where you have the character bios, and then again you have the picture of the kingdom with the blown out Gibeah, and then at the end you have you walk through the process of what that is. I love that, man, and I think that's so cool that you included that.
Yeah, you actually, the preview I sent you is actually this. It's the collector's edition of the book,
Yeah.
and the actual physical copies that a person will order, I'll actually sign those. And
That's
so
awesome.
those are signed collector's editions, and they have all of the process.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It has the galaxy map in the front. It has the process. It has like all the character breakdown sheets, the vehicles, just cover designs, all sorts of cool stuff. There's actually a small preview of some designs, early designs for the David character as well. And
Awesome.
so, you know, so that's kind of like the premium you get when you buy that. You actually get to see our early work for David. He's going to have a mech as well, and mechanized armor for those of you guys who are not familiar with mechs. Mechanized armor, and you know, that's a thing in our book, mechanized armor. And so yeah, so it's going to be cool. But yeah, man, I love, like I said, I'm a teacher, and so I love showing the process, and I know we're going to be getting into a little bit of technique, but that's what I really like to do. I really like to share that.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see your technique and see how you put that stuff together. I mean, like, if we put the social media stuff up in the chat, go and follow him. Like, Barron puts up stuff, he puts up like rough sketches, he puts up ideas, he puts up different stages of the development, so you do get to see these characters in different stages. It isn't just like the completed artwork you always get to see. So if you are interested in that stuff, then Dr. Bell is 100% the man to follow.
I pretty much post on Instagram, I mean, multiple times a week, sometimes every day. I post And I tell my students all the time, it's like, if you're not drawing every day, you have got to step your game up.
Yeah.
If Michael Jordan didn't do if he didn't sleep with the basketball, he wouldn't have been nearly as good as he was. You got to draw every single day, and I draw every day. I draw every day. I'm working on Dominion, or I work on other just regular random drawings, but I draw, I perfect my craft, and then a lot of that stuff I do post. I want everyone to see, oh, this is a process. So you'll go from the pencil sketch, then you go to the inked, cleaned up artwork, and then you go to the color. And I don't mind putting up, stuff in process and the rough stuff, because, it's easy to post a cleaned up finish, but I really want people to see that, no, this is a process. You got to work. You gotta put the time in. You gotta work your perspective lines. You gotta work your proportions, your angles, all of that.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed when I was reading the preview was your use of color. And like what I mean by that is like you'll have whole splash pages of just almost like just neutrals, like grays and maybe a soft like sepias or whatever, but then you'll have one panel in that whole 2 pages that is just a different color just for emphasis. And even throughout,
Mhm.
throughout the issue, like your colors are all over the place, which I love because a lot of times you'll see comics, especially indie comics, it's almost like a one note thing. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like you have all these different environments and all these different locations and stuff, but they all, even though they might visually look different, they all look the same because you're not varying, both like, your textures and your colors and all that stuff. And you guys did an awesome job with that because I mean, you have
Thank
bright
you.
oranges and blues and purples and again
Yeah.
grays. It's just awesome.
Thank you. I really have to give a shout out to my colorist, Christopher Hunt. And Christopher Hunt is actually, to tell you the truth, everybody who's worked on the book are my former students from Liberty and from George Fox, because I like to uplift talent where I see it. And not to mention, these are talents that can grow with me and grow with the book. But I saw Chris Hunt's work when he was in my comic book graduate level comic class at Regent, not Regent, at Liberty University, and I saw some potential there because he had an understanding of color theory that was better than mine.
Hmm.
And so with that, he was also he was very meek and teachable, and he had a whole lot of kind of a desire. He had hunger. Still has hunger. So he's a good dude. And so sitting down in our story meetings talking about the use of color, we don't just throw color on the page. We have to think out reasoning behind why we're using the colors that we're using, what kind of moods we're trying to convey. I said I want this to be a very colorful book. I
Hmm.
do. I want it to transition. I want the color to transition with the mood. So if it's a very hot, if it's a high, intense scene, sometimes those colors will be warmer. But then again, if you look at a movie like Saving Private Ryan, I'm not sure if you guys ever remember that, but
It's
back in the
saturated.
day, you know what I'm saying? It was a highly intense thing, but the colors were desaturated,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of like cool, desaturated tones,
Hmm.
which gave it a much more cinematic look. And of course, it also gave you a sense that it was in the past. So in the beginning, you're going to see some very, very desaturated, cool colors because you're looking at a flashback scene, but it's also very intense because this is the scene where Samuel informs Saul Almighty has stripped the kingdom away from him because of Saul's his actions,
Hmm.
and so his failures. And you go back to the future or the present rather, and then you see in Saul's bedroom these very kind of warmer colors. It's a present day, but it's also evening or early morning, and so
Hmm.
you'll see him in his bed with these kind of morning color palette,
Yeah.
early morning color palette. So some, purples, a little bit of oranges mixed in. It's just early morning color palette. But then you'll move to, a scene, where you're seeing the Seraphim Marines, and that has its own color palette.
I was gonna say, like when they're in the drop
There's
ship
just,
in the cargo bay, how it's just lit up like this,
yeah,
like a red, like there, it's almost like a warning
yeah,
light, like an indicator.
yeah. Yeah, I told Chris, I said, I want it to be cinematic, so let's go look at some films. You know what I'm saying? And I sent him some like mood boards just so he can kind of see what I'm going for. But also, I also told him we're going to do two things. We're going to rely on cinema, but we're also going to rely on the masters in the Renaissance and the Pre-Raphaelite Renaissance. Byzantine era art. I really like Jan Vermeer and Caravaggio. Those are two of my favorite masters painters because they have this way with light and color that was very groundbreaking for the time, many centuries before photography. And so they were able to somehow communicate very, very rich color and very, very realistic lighting way that was not done at the time in a widespread way. So I'm like, we study the masters, study them. We look upon certain paintings, like for one scene where you see Queen Ahinoam and uh, uh, they have their quiet scene. We drew from uh, uh, Waterhouse, who was a Victorian era artist, and Lord Leighton was another Victorian era artist. So those are things that we look at when it comes down to it, and I think it really helps to yes, refer to things now, movies and television, but also the masters
That's funny. It's funny you mentioned that
for
because
us.
I did write one of the questions I had was how important was it to study those masters like Caravaggio, because I know like because we studied him, we studied the masters when we were in college. Caravaggio was groundbreaking, like when he came out for his use of values, different values, butted up against each other to round out figures and
Mhm.
things like that. You can definitely see it in the work, and it brings me to something that we had talked about last stream was the use of reference photos or and reference just media in general and how important that is
Mhm.
because when you have an image of something that you want to portray in your head and you can put it on paper without referencing anything, but to your point, when you're actually referencing something that's real, something that exists, and you're adding that you're fleshing it your vision out with something that already exists, it just adds another dimension to it.
Yeah, and you'll see in the time lapse videos, I do that. I show that very, very clearly that I use reference. I have a Pinterest that is very, very, very extensive because it's real life, it's real colors. So I definitely do that. As a matter of fact, I told my students this last week. It's like, I got these little kind of figurines that's posable because you can actually use this for figure drawing. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so you can pose it in any way you want to pose it. You know what I'm saying? And then you can kind of put it at whatever angle you want, have perspective and all of that. So it's like I
That's
got one in
awesome.
a male version and then one in a female version as well. And it's like, you have to go back to what the old master said about drawing what you see and not what you think you see. You have to. That's how you get better. That's how you see things in three dimensions and spatially. You have to, if you aren't doing this already, training your brain how to see a form, three dimensions, and how to deconstruct that form, brain, into its constituent shapes, and starting with that instead of saying, okay, I'm going to fully render this first. No, you have
Hmm.
to sketch it out first as a shape.
Hmm.
because if you look at your hand, you see a hand, right? But if you deconstruct it into a shape, it's a rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Rectangle. Now you have this fist, construct the shape, and what is the shape?
It's a circle or a square.
It's a circle. It's
Yeah.
it's either a circle or it's a square. Either one will be fine. Either one will be fine. That's what I'm saying. You have to start training your brain and how to visually deconstruct a form into its constituent shapes. Now you have this, but it's not just a circle, but it's a cylinder attached to the circle.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that if you can, I tell everybody, anyone can be an artist, anyone. If you can draw a stick figure, artist.
Yeah.
Compare yourself to anybody else, but anyone can do it. You just have to get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
Simplify. You have to comparing yourself, because comparison is the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you are trying to become better but you're comparing yourself to other artists, don't do that. Stop doing that. Mm-hmm. Because everyone can be as good as they can be as long as you're honest. You're honest to who you are and your style and your level and your art. Mm-hmm. So you do that, but you start there. You start with honesty, and then you practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Draw. Use visual reference, and that's how you improve, and that's how you get better.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that really helped me, one of the old school books that I had, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I believe it was Steve Ditko.
Oh yeah,
did some of the illustration in it. And one of the main things he said, and I still struggle with, is creating movement, like in your characters. Like you're obviously a character on the page is not moving, but they represent a movement when they're on the page. Yeah. And one cool thing about your comic, not only just the flow of the panels, but even when it's just one character on the screen, like you can see the movement of the character. And when you're, I guess what I was learning is, when you have a character, there's a movement line, and you can describe so much of a character, what they're doing, with literally just one line. Like almost like they're sparring.
That's called line of action.
Yeah.
So you're talking about line of action, and the thing is, it's like this is why practice is so important. You have to do quick gesture drawings. Mm-hmm. When you're first starting to do figure drawing, you're doing gestures. Gestures is maybe like a 1 minute session of drawing a figure or a shape or whatever. You do 1 minute, or no less, 1 minute. Mm-hmm. And in that minute, you do very quick, sketchy lines. Start out with that curvature of the spine. Which way is it going? Which way is it moving? And that gives you the kinetic feel of movement, because that's the line of action. It's the direction that the curve of the spine is going.
Yeah.
Like this, or straight up and down, mm-hmm. or at a slant because it's running, or whatever. That's how you get that kind of emotion that you're looking for.
Yeah. So, Cross, I don't know if you wanted to do. I know you had mentioned, Dr. Bell, the time lapse video. Did we want to go ahead and maybe take a look at that?
Because this is going to show you exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to line of action. And
just before we jump into those, if I can just shout out to some in the chat. To IML Tommy, says, "Hey, how's everyone? Good to see you, Tommy. Glad you can make it for today, and thank you for that host as well. And also to Eyebrows Gaming for that host. Also, thank you so much for hosting the stream today and coming and joining us, guys. I appreciate it. All right, I'll go ahead and throw up that first time lapse, gentlemen. Right, here we go. All right, guys, it's running.
All right, awesome. Are you seeing the? Are you on Twitch, Dr. Bell?
I am, but I don't see.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I see it. Okay, cool. So, basically, and I know we were talking before Nitro about the Philistines.
Ooh, samurai armor. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, the Philistines are. I wanted the the enemies of the Dominion, the Philistines, they're their primary adversaries. For the Dominion, they're mammals. See, like the lions, the birds, and all that. The Philistines, they're reptile and amphibians. They're snakes, they're lizards, they're alligators, crocodiles. Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you look in nature, what is the most fearsome adversary to the lion? It would be the alligator, or the crocodile rather. And so, especially if you look at the African savanna. And so I'm like, okay, I like crocodile because they're fearsome. And so I started out with this design because I'm like, okay, cool. The crocodile is already fearsome, but I want their armor to look different than the Dominion armor. And so I really like the kind of like samurai armor. I really like that. And the thing is, you know, I use it as a basis, but I don't copy it. You know what I'm saying?
And I love that because
that's the
I'm
thing
watching.
I want.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But I'm watching how many times like you'll reference it and then you'll erase it and draw something completely different, and I love that.
It's just about referencing.
Yeah.
About copying, guys. It's, you know, you use something for inspiration, you use it for visual reference. And I like that, but then I said, you know what? I want the crocodile. I want him to look more fearsome, and so that's where you're talking about the line of action. So I made it a little bit more arched, more
huge shoulders,
more monstrous. You know what I'm saying? And the shoulders are bigger, the waist is tapered, the legs are smaller. It gives them a bigger upper body appearance, and so this Philistine shock trooper should be a living weapon. That means that, yeah, he's gonna have like rifles and missiles and stuff like that he can fire, machine guns, whatever. But even if those are stripped away, he has edges everywhere. That can be used for stabbing. That could be used for cutting and slicing. That could be used for whatever. His whole body. So even when he's down, he's not out. This is what I was talking about in one previous podcast where, you know, where Dominion has high technology and they're very, very sophisticated. The Philistines, they're less sophisticated in their technology, but they're more fearsome in their warfare. They fight like demons. And where, okay, you may have one Dominion foot soldier that can take out 10 Philistines. But the Philistines still have the numbers. They won't have just 10; they'll have 100. To one Dominion soldier that, you know, that they're using to kind of like even the balance. And so the sketches, you know, I wanted to make them very, very clean. The lines clean, but also have I guess I took some samurai armor, but also some Roman armor too as inspiration as well. Because we're seeing here.
This is where.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say this is where, like you were talking about, just keep drawing the same thing over and over and over. That way, you're able to come at it with different perspectives. Because in the first drawing, you have, it's almost like a side profile of the of an alligator head, but then you have almost a 3/4 view of the mouth open, which means like in order to draw that as fast as you did and as accurately as you did it, you would have to have done that like many, many, many times.
You have to have also visual reference. So I had 2 reference photos. I had one reference photo of the crocodile with his mouth shut, and then the other reference photo with him open and he's like snarling. And that's where I kind of stopped and just went to embellish the shape of the body, the shape of the armor, and all of that. So there's a whole lot of revision that goes on when you're drawing. A whole lot of revision. So you draw, a line here, a line there, and you like it, but then you don't like it, so you erase it, and then you revise it. The thing I love about, this was done in Procreate. The thing I love about Procreate is it allowed me, and this is why my work is so fast, it allowed me to make my lines sharper and cleaner in a much quicker way. Instead of having to, I gotta use this ruler here, I could just take my line, draw it, and then hold, and then it kind of straightens itself automatically.
Gotcha.
So I draw a curve, and at the end of the curve, you hold that curve, and then it automatically straightens automatically. So I don't have to get like a French curve application or anything to try to position it properly. No, I could just draw a curve. It'll be wobbly, and then I press and hold, and then it automatically straightens.
Oh, that's
And
awesome. I didn't
so
know it did
that
that.
to
I
me
didn't know
was a
that program
game.
did that.
Yeah, it does. That to me was the game changer. That makes it better than any other software I've ever used because it increased my productivity and made me faster.
Yeah.
And so creating straight lines is important to becoming a professional. You have to have straight lines.
I
You
see the
have
Roman
to be able to.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah,
to cut you off, Dr.
the
Bell, but I see
filigree.
the Roman
Yeah,
aspects like on the shoulder pad.
yeah. That was that. So it's kind of like a hybrid.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
gonna
I
have
think
like
it
some
looks awesome.
Japanese mixed with some Roman, but it's very kind of archaic. And then of course you have this big gun strapped to his wrist, big
Yeah.
Gatling gun.
I love
Uh,
the mix of the
the,
genres.
the Dominion they use energy weapons, whereas the Philistines they're slug throwers. They
Hmm.
use a lot of brass, and so they're more kind of conventional in their warfare,
Yeah.
and they have these claws, these knives attached to their fingers to kind of give them a little extra reach when they're
Hmm.
trying to kill you. So
Yeah.
it's like they're fast, they're small in some cases, but in some foot soldiers are larger and slower. But the shock troopers, they're really fast. They're very, very fast. They come at you like lightning.
Yeah.
So you have to be quick on the retreat or to move them. And
This
so
is
the
all.
Dominion foot soldiers are very they
Wow.
lean more on their weaponry, whereas the Philistines lean more on their physicality.
This is awesome. I spend hours on YouTube watching these types of videos, so this is like a candy store for me. So one question I feel like
Oh yeah,
I always ask and I always forget, but so when you're sketching this, that blue line that you're using is basically just like it's like if you were using paper, that's your loose pencil line, right? And then you come in
yeah,
afterwards
yeah.
with your ink. Okay.
Like an old school technique. That's a like an old Disney type technique where you use a blue sketch pencil on Bristol board
Mm-hmm.
to do all of your construction lines because your construction lines can be messy. You can be
Yeah.
as messy as you want with your blue sketch. Typically, what they would do then before they would animate is they would take their blue sketch and then they would layer on top of it with cellophane or plastic. And they would draw on top of that, and or if they didn't do that, they would just draw a dark pen or pencil on top of the actual paper, and then
Mm-hmm.
they would take that paper to a scanner and to a printer, print it. At the time, during the 50s, I believe, wouldn't be able to see the blue line.
Oh, okay. I always wondered why they
So
use blue.
the blue sketch doesn't show up when you actually print it, when you
Okay.
copy it. So you put it through the copier, and you wouldn't be able to see the blue. Now, I don't really need to use blue. I could use any color, but when I first started doing comics, how I would do it because I would have to have my Bristol board scanned before sending it to the inks.
Mm-hmm.
So you would do the Bristol board blue sketch, and then you would do a cleaned up pencil line on top of that. And then you would scan it, and then you would send it over to the inker.
Okay.
So that's how I was kind of like that's how I started in the game doing
Mm-hmm.
that back in 2000. Uh, in my first book,
I'm sorry, you kind of
and
cut out
but
there,
I'm just
Dr.
kind of yeah, you didn't hear that, but really kind of got used to it. So in doing
Yeah,
Procreate, I always start with blue sketch.
gotcha. Did we want to? You said we have
Yeah,
another
you
one?
can
Do we want to take a look at another one?
another one. There's the Queen on the Throne.
Yeah, we can go
Okay.
with the Queen. And just shout out to the chat before we jump into the next one. Neva Candida saying, I love the art. Looks more like an alligator than a crocodile to me, though. And then a wee happy face. So yeah.
The alligator's snout is a little thinner, but hey, either way, they still look fearsome.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it's like, you could tell me it was either, and I would go, okay, to be completely honest with you. I'm neither an expert here nor there. And then Terminus Media
It's all good.
in the chat saying, crikey, she's a beauty.
Nice. Sounds like Mark.
I had a feeling it might possibly be Mark. If anyone doesn't know,
Yeah.
Mark Stansel was on the podcast before, along with Dr. Bell last time. So if it is you, Mark, then it's good to have you with us. Glad you could be in the chat at least today. All right, but we're going to that next time lapse. This is going to be the Queen, I believe. All right, and it's starting.
Cool.
So with the Queen, I had a couple of ideas when I started approaching her. I know I wanted her to be regal and very beautiful and very statuesque.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at drawing her, especially with this image of her on the throne, and this is another visual reference that you use. You start with something that's there, that's done already. Use that as kind of like the foundation. It's kind of cheating, but then again, it's really not, because I only use it as a launching pad to construct it in my own way. But you saw a picture there of Cleopatra. Basically, awesome. I draw from images of like Cleopatra, of Queen Nefertiti, of very elegant, beautiful women who project beauty but also power at the same time. That was really my thing with Ahinoam. She has to be beautiful, but she also has to be powerful. And so, that's the way you always see her in a regal stance. And this, of course, comes from developing a character profile that I know that I know how she would respond in any instance of conflict or anything like that. She projects power, but she also is very soft, especially when it comes to her family. Mm-hmm. And so you see that in chapter 1 with her taking that moment with Jonathan. She will be tender, but she will also remind him of duty, because she's bound as a queen to the role of being a queen. And so I really, in history, you can see like Queen Nefertiti. I keep referring to her because she's like the direct corollary between my character and this kind of an idea of what a queen should be. Queen Nefertiti was the power behind the pharaoh Akhenaten at the time of his rule. He was going crazy. Like King Saul is going crazy. Mm-hmm. But she would be the powerhouse behind the scenes, making the laws, doing the rules, cutting deals behind the scenes, using his signet ring, and no one knew it. Mm. And so while Dominion is falling apart at the seams, and Saul is going crazy, it's the queen's job to prop him up, to make him look like the king. Yeah. So regardless, that's what she does. And so, I mean, like I said before, with the design work, I want to make her look regal and elegant, and I give her these beautiful headdresses that look way too heavy to carry.
I love the ornation, and, like it just in her, in the thing right across her collar, and just this little teeny details. I love that. That speaks.
That's directly from art. The throne is Art Deco. Yeah. Her outfit is Art Nouveau. Okay. You'll see all of this flourishes. The little tiny design work that you have is Art Nouveau inspired. Got it. And then of course, the color palette, I have to take it from existing artwork. So I take it from that, and like I said, I love giving her. Oh, and another thing, someone asked me a question about the head coverings that they always have. Mm-hmm. With that's there's a lot of story behind the head coverings, because the queen is regal, and lions don't have hair unless you're a male. You have this kind of a mane of hair. Lionesses don't have hair, and so I'm like, well, a way to supplement that, to give them that extra little bit of kind of beautification, is I have the queen and the princess. They wear these head coverings that are draped, mm-hmm. and so the drapery kind of mimics hair in a way. And so you have these two kind of cutouts that kind of are for the ears to pop out, mm-hmm. and they're kind of like ringed with brass or gold. The covering of whatever fabric, it could be lame or it could be satin or whatever,
Yeah.
that drapes very, very beautifully in a way. And then if you see with the princess, she has a head covering that she does in all sorts of braids and all sorts of different ways. She takes that head covering and make it. If you ever seen like an Islamic woman, she would wear a hijab.
Mm-hmm.
In order to supplement the fact that they're wearing a head covering, there's all sorts of ways to wear that hijab. You don't have to just wear it traditional ways. You can dress it up. You can do whatever you want. You can layer it. You can do all sorts of cool things. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at things like that as a way to kind of like implement this fashion that we're creating for Dominion. Almost kind of like that this is controversial, but if you look at Star Wars Episode 1 with Queen Amidala. Queen Amidala had these beautiful headdresses and these beautiful gowns and outfits. Yeah. And so I'm like, I want to be like that. I want Dominion to feel like that.
Well, like even the makeup, like the way that they did her makeup, like so like way out in left field, like the one stripe on her lip, it was like very
yeah.
Like,
I love that.
Distinct.
It's very kind of like kabuki or the Japanese type situation, which was very cool. Also with the female, and I talked about this in another podcast. I want my yes, they're animals, they're lions, and they have a muzzle and they don't have lips.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, man? I mean, females have to look like they're females. Yeah. You got to be able to distinctly tell. So where you see the males, they will look more directly like their animal counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
Females will be a hybrid of woman / lion or woman / animal, where you'll see that they have the full lips with the widow's bow, but you'll have like a separation. Yeah. Like the lion muzzle with the nose. So mm-hmm. There's some kind of realistic lion construction, but then there's that hybrid of the female lip. Yeah. You can put lipstick on. You know what I'm saying? And you can make her feel a little bit more feminine than the actual lion. And then of course, like I said, I supplement that with the headpiece.
Yeah, one of the cool things that I was noticing as you were doing the Queen Ahinoam drawing was a lot of times, I know for me, like when I'm drawing, clothes and stuff like that, sometimes it could just look like a piece of clothing as opposed to a piece of clothing that is on a human form. And you did a really good job capturing that, she's not human, but the human form underneath the clothing. It was really cool. Like being able to just the subtle shading and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that you have to, and that comes with a lot of practice, but with a lot of visual reference, a ton mm-hmm. of visual reference, and the fact that the first thing I studied when I was in college was fashion design. Yeah. And so part of that, that was very very brief moment of time though. When I realized, okay, I don't know if I want to be a fashion designer, a character designer more, but it really is about taking that visual reference and building upon it, using it as just reference, but not to copy it, but to kind of inspire the direction you want to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know if we wanted to take a look at maybe the last time lapse.
Yeah, we got the last one, and let me just catch up with the chat then. So we've got the Armored Ephesian came into the chat. It said, "I made it! Woohoo!"
What up, Armored Ephesian? That's one of my favorite dudes on Instagram. He has some of the best videos. Him just walking through New York, and he's just like lifting up the name of Jesus in the name of in the middle of New York City, and it's like, man, I'm like, it just encourages me. So I mean, I just want to give Armored Ephesian a shout out, bro. You lift me up all the time, and I'm sure you do other people as well. So keep doing what you do. Also, Armored Ephesian is an artist as well, so he's doing some really really good artwork. So you got to check out his Instagram.
There you go. Go check out Armored Ephesian's Instagram then. He also says big fan of Dominion, the Dominion work, and I said, well, this is definitely the podcast for you then. Which I said, sweet. We had Visual Litany coming in and gave us a wave, so thank you so much for that
visual.
visual.
Also, she's also awesome as well.
And then Armored Ephesian also saying, if I've got a Discord, give me a sec, I'll chuck that link in the chat for you. And then he says, I'm grateful, brothers. Like, thank you so much for coming to join us. Let me throw that Discord link in the chat. We do have a Discord if you all want to join that and keep the conversations going after the streams are done. You can obviously join us over there and be part of it. And also thank you to Neva Candida, who's been in the chat all day. She has officially followed us.
Awesome.
I don't know why the notifications didn't go off. I don't know if it's because I was on the art page at the time, it didn't register, but thank you so much for that follow and welcome to the Comic Clan. We greatly appreciate you. So yeah, my counter must be off and I must have missed someone somewhere, because I'm checking it on my phone and apparently we hit 200 followers today.
What? Dude,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so the counter says 198. Neva Candida would make it 199, but looking at it on my phone is actually saying 200. So thank you, whoever the other follower was.
That's awesome.
My system's not telling me who you are, so I apologize, but welcome to the Comic Clan. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's all Dr. Bell.
Yeah, that's it, man. Dr. Bell, you literally got us up to 200 followers, man.
Whatever.
Anytime we need a follower boost, we're going to get...
That's it. So when Chapter 2 comes out, Dr. Bell's officially booked already to come back at the end of the year.
Help us hit 300. I'll come back whenever you guys want, because I love talking about this stuff.
Awesome.
Our book 2 is going to be out by Christmas. So I'm definitely coming back on before that happens.
Yeah, so I think we're definitely doing a pre-Christmas stream at some point with Dr. Bell.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely in the cards.
Yeah. You know, I actually just started writing the outline for book 2. So it's like this week, this very week, I started. By the way, guys, we also are translating our chapter 1 and other books into Spanish,
I saw that.
Portuguese.
Yeah, I did see that post.
German. We translated into German, French, Arabic, and Berber.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
We got all these different languages that are being translated, because here's the thing, guys. Minion is a very, very good tool for literacy, a very, very good tool to communicate a desire and a will to kind of read the Bible, to explore what the Bible is all about. So it's a good kind of a primer for someone who's never read the Bible before, to say, hey, here's a great story. It's a great story. If you want to accept it as just a great story, have at it. Have fun with it. That's great. But guess what? It does come from a source material. And so if you guys have any friends who are in the church, pastors, youth leaders, whatever, if you want to buy several books, whatever, just let us know and we'll cut you a nice wholesale discount. You can get some books. And I would suggest you just get books and just give them away to the kids in the neighborhood. We have this great partner. His name is Sebastian. He's going to be operating in Brazil. We're just going to try to get books to kids. Just get them. Just get them to the kids. Get them reading comics. Get them, expanding their imaginations. Get them asking questions about who these Bible characters are. And really, that's the goal. It's a mission.
Definitely. I mean, that's an amazing goal. And yeah, anyone who's in the chat, this is something to definitely get involved in and be part of. It's like, this is a phenomenal comic, and it's amazing to hear about everyone that's getting involved with it, to hear about it getting translated into all these different languages. It's like, it blows my mind to think about the expanse that this book is already getting. I mean, it dropped 2 weeks ago officially.
2 weeks ago, officially 2 weeks ago. We've been doing the pre-hype for several months on social media. But after it dropped, we're getting a lot of attention in a lot of different ways. My thing is, and Mark will agree with this, is the goal is to give glory and honor to the Lord in everything that we do. That's why we do this. It is a mission for us. It is a mission to, number one, elevate the quality of Christian content, friendly content, elevate the quality so that it's indistinguishable from just a good story. So we do that first, and then the secondary mission is to get the word out, is to inspire people to want to read the Bible, but discovering a great story first through our comic, and then it could hopefully inspire some young people or old people or whatever to read the Bible. Or if an old comic book fan, comic book nerd has some kids, sit down and read it with your kids, man, and play out the voices of the characters. We have a great trailer on our website, that has the voices thanks to Daniel Hancock who directed it, and eventually we're going to do an audio book based on audio drama based on it. But it's really about just trying to just get kids' imaginations going, get them reading, get their imaginations flowing, let them see that you do have permission to read comic books and you do have permission to enjoy sci-fi and fantasy. And then hopefully you start asking questions.
Definitely, and massive, shout out to that trailer. The trailer for Dominion Chapter 1 is phenomenal. It's such a good trailer and honestly hypes you up. So, the team that was involved in that is absolutely brilliant.
So Daniel Hancock is amazing, and his actors, the group that did it is just amazing.
And so shout out to Visual Litany in the chat saying book 1 is dope and I can't wait to see David's design. And then the Armored Ephesian saying exactly, it was cool to see the concept art for David. Yeah, I mean, like I'm so excited for it. Like just even the hints of what's to come and stuff like that from chapter 1. I'm excited to see the rest of Saul's story and then get into David's story.
Yeah, it's cool to see how your characters have, like, even though they're all the same species, they each have their own like unique look. Like I know you were talking a little bit about that earlier, but that's super important.
It's not
like, to distinguish.
It's extremely important because lions, at first blush, one lion would look just like another lion, right? But if you look very closely, and this is what we were talking about before, Nitro, is there are subtle details and differences between even lions that you would see in the wild. There are differences. Maybe slight color changes. Maybe the muzzle is a little bit different. Maybe there's a little bit more white in one color and hair design. For me, I take that to the next level by adding accessories.
Yeah.
Like, between, so you're going to have in book 3, you're going to meet David, and eventually Jonathan and David will have a friendship, and they're two lions, but how do you distinguish one from the other? Well, one is taller than the other, so that's one thing. One will have a different coloring than the other, that's another thing. The outfit and the clothing, of course, that's definitely another thing to distinguish the two. So when you're standing side by side, you'll be able to say, okay, that's David and that's Jonathan. They're two lions, but they do look different. So it really is about trying to find ways to distinguish characters, even though a lot of these characters do look alike.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Definitely. Cameron from 1Geek411 saying, I really enjoyed the convo this week. Thank you so much, Cameron, for being here. We're glad you could be here. Again, massive shout out to 1Geek411, another amazing podcast here. Their podcast is actually on tomorrow night over in their channel, so go give them a follow and check that out. And did we want to jump into this last time-lapse video then of
let's
Princess
do that.
Michael?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Give me one sec, we'll throw that up.
Now, which one was this?
Michael was one of my...
Michael.
This is Princess Michael standing in front of a mech, and this is one of the first times she actually sees David, but we don't see David in this one. We just see kind of like her reaction to seeing David. And eventually, they're going to have a wonderful love story that is going to be a departure from where it starts in the Bible, because in the Bible, Princess Michael starts out as a trophy, and that's just to be quite honest. She starts out as a trophy. She is the prize for whoever can defeat Goliath. So I wanted to take that and elevate that so that, yes, of course, that's still going to be a part of it, but she's going to actually meet David beforehand, and they're going to actually start a love story that's going to be quite beautiful and a little bit different from what you actually see in the in the Bible. And that's the thing I really wanted to kind of focus on, to really just see, okay, well, how is this coming across? I want her to be strong in a way that Ahinoam isn't. Ahinoam is strong a much more regal way. Michael is strong in a much more martial way. She takes the role of princess, and then she turns it on its ear. She wants to actually go out and fight. Ahinoam will want her to typically just be in the role of a regular princess. But Michael doesn't want to just be a pampered princess. She knows that Dominion is falling apart on the border, and she has to help people. lives. And so she has her mech, she has her outfit, she has her costume, and she goes out and she fights.
Hey, Dr. Bell, just a technique question real quick coming from the chat. Visual Litany was
Sure.
asking what tablet you use, if you use a tablet.
Oh yeah, I'm using an Apple an iPad Mini
Okay,
with an Apple Pencil.
gotcha.
So this right here, iPad Mini, I'm telling you right now, it's going to change your life. It elevated my game so much with the Procreate app. I don't know how someone could fit so much power into one little app called Procreate, but it's way better than any app I've ever used,
Yeah.
Photoshop or anything like that. So it's really good. So yeah, absolutely. And if you ever need any tips or pointers, just send me an email or just message me on one of the social media platforms.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for
But
the question, Visual Litany. Anybody have any additional questions, just please feel free to drop it in the chat. Sorry,
but
continue,
yeah,
Dr. Bell. Sorry.
color is a different color is huge. Um, what I wanted to do with the color of Michael, and especially with dealing with certain scenes, bringing out complementary colors that could really help boost her look. Also, Dominion uniform has a certain look as well as far as color tone. You
Yeah.
see a lot of burgundies and burgundies, whites, grays, blacks. Those are the Dominion uniform, royal uniform color pattern, color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
You have this kind of a crest. It's almost kind of like a Thundercat symbol. Someone
Yeah.
mentioned that,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like this, like a gold lion crest that you can see on her shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
which is the royal crest of the House of Saul.
Okay. Yeah, I just love the little flourishes, like even in her in the head covering that she's wearing, like so the hole for the ear, it's surrounded by like a design, that it's like
Yeah, it's
little
like
stuff like
a
that. It's
gold.
like so cool.
Yeah, it's like a gold, kind of a opening that
Yeah.
kind of holds her. And that's the thing. It's like those little things mean a whole lot as far,
Mm-hmm.
especially as far as storytelling is concerned. And so when you draw, you really want to make sure that this is where practice comes in. Practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice. So you'll see my sketch lines, my construction lines. I erase a lot. I put in things a lot, and I kind of, as you are drawing, this is why Blue Sketch is great because you can draw, you can kind of sketch, and it's almost kind of like sculpting
Yeah.
the figure. Also, you have to think of perspective, which is of course not easy
Mm-hmm.
for anybody. But I mean, you're looking up at her from a low angle,
Yeah.
and
So our
so
hand's gonna
that's
be
where
bigger.
that's where this little guy comes in, or this girl comes in, where you can kind of pose her properly, and so you can see, okay, in the perspective, what is closer to you is the thing that's bigger, so the hand
Yeah.
is going to be bigger. That also translates to the weight of the line. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what a lot of people don't understand, is you communicate perspective in line weight as well.
Yeah.
So the closer something is
That's a
to
good
you, the
point.
bigger the line is, and then the further away, the thinner the line is, and that's how you communicate perspective and depth perception.
So
So those are things that you have to take into consideration.
piggyback off that,
Go
I've
right ahead.
noticed a lot in graphic novels and comics, like in addition to having the stuff that's closer to you have thicker lines, but also like the edge line of the character will sometimes have like a lot of varying weights.
Yeah,
And I see that in yours too.
I think that it goes with practice,
Yeah.
honestly, because with a pen, what you want to do is you want to do a thick, thin, thick. So if you go like the top of the curve will be thinner, the bottom of the curve will be thicker, the top of the curve will be thinner. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really want to practice that to just kind of like vary your line weight. Now, artists are different in how they portray their outer contour line. Now, some artists will have a very thick, bold outer contour line, almost kind of like an Art Nouveau style. If you look at someone like Terry Dotson or Adam Hughes, you'll see that, and they do like a lot of cheesecake women characters. You know what I'm saying? Wonder Woman. Adam Hughes does a lot of Wonder Woman. Terry Dodson does a lot of Catwoman. And so you'll see that they have like thick outer contour lines, almost kind of like Art Nouveau. Some artists have very thin technical lines. Artist, his name is Alex Cherished. The Meta Barons for humanoids, and his line work is really very precise and thin and just very almost kind of like cross hatching or stippling, and it's just like, so it really depends on the style of artist you are. But you really should consider perspective in all things. So
we do have a couple questions.
Oh, another thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, go right ahead. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. So you just have a couple questions in chat. Armored Ephesian asked, how long does a usual piece take to finish?
Ephesian, are you talking about from just basic bare bone blue sketch to color, to complete color?
I think he had a follow-up question while we're waiting on his answer.
Okay, well, basically, I can pretty much get a piece done from blue sketch to color probably within 2 hours.
It says exactly what you're asking.
Okay.
Yeah, if you give me 2 hours, I can have it. And because here's the thing to also consider: how detailed is the color? Because Chris Hunt, who does the final colors for the books, is a different colorist than me. I'm a lot of these things that you're seeing right now is just me, but Chris Hunt will take much longer because he's putting much more detail into the color. Me, what I'm doing is I do just the pencil. Nitro.
No, I was gonna say that's a question that I had. Like, how do you know when to, like, okay, I'm not gonna do any more to this, like, because you could just get like almost like photorealistic with the color if you really wanted to, if you wanted to spend enough time, but at the same time you got to be practical and you got to be efficient, right?
Here's how they do it in comics. Okay, so you will have the flat colors. After you do the ink work, you have the flat colors. The flat colors are just what it says, flat. So you kind of divide out the areas that need to be colored. So you'll say, okay, I have this arm, and on this arm there's a gauntlet. The gauntlet is one color. The flesh of the arm is the other color. The color of the fabric underneath the gauntlet is another color. So you got 3 colors.
Yeah.
But those are 3 flat colors. But there are people who get paid to just do flats. And that's cool because it takes a lot of the work off of the main colorist, because then they'll go in and do the highlights, shadows, and the highlights. Okay. But with me, since I'm all by myself, what I will do is I'll do the flats on one layer, but then I will also do the shadows on that same flat layer after the flats are done, and then I will do the highlights on a separate layer. So then I can kind of control how that's going, and then I may even do another layer of shadows, doing a blending mode of whatever, soft light or whatever. You can do like a multiply blending mode. You could do a hard light or soft light blending mode. It really depends on the color you're trying to get, but I do use that layer to do my initial dark pass and kind of carve out edges of shadow. That's what I do. Now, some people are different. Some people will use their flat layer and just leave it flat, and then go on another layer and then do their darks. I don't necessarily like to work like that. I just start on the same layer. Next layer, you could do maybe you want to do a mid-tone. See, this is where you get into more detail. If you're going to do dark, mids, highs, highlight, or the different things you do, or you may want to just do a flat, just a simple cell shaded shadow, and then a simple light pass. So those are 3 instead of 6. So that's up to you. And then of course you can use an eraser to kind of carve out highlight layers if you want. You can use an additional layer for highlights, and then maybe one additional layer after that for a very high gloss.
Mm-hmm.
It just really depends. So, but for me, I mean, Chris does all of that other stuff. Chris does, and Chris actually adds a texture layer too. So he'll add a layer on
Okay.
top of all of that as a texture, and then put a blending mode on that layer. And then that's going to add an additional kind of a look that your eye will pick up, even though it's very, very difficult to see. If you really look
Yeah.
at that texture layer, maybe like a noise, it may be an actual like a metallic texture or whatever, but he will go and do all of that, and that's what takes him maybe 4 hours to 6 hours to maybe even 8 hours on some pages.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right. And before we jump into
So
the next question, just a shout out, we got Holy Action One. Thank you for that follow, sir. And we absolutely appreciate it. Welcome to the Comic Clan and continuing our growth here. Thank you so much for that.
Brent.
So we've got a couple of questions still in the chat, so I want to hit those. If there's anyone else in the chat that's got some questions, this is your chance to throw them in. Because I want to hit these questions, and then Nitro, if there's any big questions you've got left for Dr. Bell. Because we're starting to push towards
I think
2 hours, so I want to kind of start us wrapping towards the end of the questions now.
I think I'm good on my end because we hit all the main questions that I wanted to ask you, Dr. Bell.
Alright, so we've got 2 more questions at least in chat. So anyone else in chat, if there's a question you've got for Dr. Bell, get it typed into chat right now. And if nothing else comes in, we'll do these next 2 and look at wrapping up from there.
Cool.
Alright, so do you want to take the questions in, Nitro? You've kind of been doing that, so I'll let
I'll get it.
Keep going. You're doing a good job. I'll let you keep doing what you're doing.
All right, cool. So Cameron asked, how many design iterations do you think it takes for each character?
I encourage what's called ideation, and ideation is basically where you take your character, do what are called silhouettes, and you do like just the overall black shape of the character, and then you just go through several different versions. I don't do more than 5 different iterations. I don't feel like I need that many, and so I would say up to 5 would be fine. But then again, there are some artists who do maybe like 10 or 20 different ideations on a character and silhouettes, depending on if you are really wanting to have a variety to choose from.
Yeah. Okay.
Like for instance, for David, right now I'm designing David right now, right? And so David, not only do I have to design David, but also I have to design his mech too, because his mech is almost kind of like a part of him. So I go through 5 different ideations for David, and then I go through 5 different ideations for the mech that he drives. And so it's like it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I love how the mechs almost look animal-like. Like the way that the legs are positioned, where they're double jointed at the legs. I love that. We have
some
a
of them look like that. Some of them look more human.
Yeah. We do have a follow-up question from the Armored Ephesian. He said, I'm currently using my phone and a Galaxy tablet, a Sketchbook Pro with a stylus. He said, would you ever consider doing a step-by-step on how the artwork is done, like a tutorial video?
Oh yeah. I absolutely would. Now, Armored Ephesian, man, any way could get an iPad mini, because I'm telling you right now, bro, listen, I am going to be an evangelist, an apologist for iPad mini with Procreate. Now, I mean, there's some people who can get an iPad, regular iPad, or iPad Pro, which is fine. The reason why I'm suggesting mini is because the mini is cheap, and you can get it used. I got mine used for, I think, $380, and it's perfect. It's not used, it's refurbished for $380. The reason why I say that is that the thing that takes the longest is getting those straight lines, getting those straight curves. That's what takes the longest in art, is to make sure that your lines are straight. Procreate is a program that helps automate that process instead of you having to put your ruler in the and then draw a line on the ruler and all that. No, all you got to do is just draw one line and hold it, and then it snaps straight. You draw a curve, hold it at the end of the curve, and it snaps straight. So instead of being wobbly, it becomes straight. If you draw a circle, if you draw a wobbly circle shape, and then you hold that at the end of that it automatically becomes a straight lined circle, and you can choose between having it be an arc or a circle. The other thing is they give you nodes almost as if it's a vector line, which it is a vector line, and then you can actually morph that circle bigger, smaller. You can you make it skewed, whatever. The same thing with lines. You can take your vector line and you can move it, place it wherever you want to make sure that it is straight. And I understand you got your method and your phone and all that stuff, but and the phone is really handy, Galaxy Note or whatever you're using. But what I'm saying is that save up a little bit of money, and this is for all of you guys, all of you artists out there. Save up a little bit of money, yourself an iPad Mini, and create, and I guarantee you will thank me. You will send me messages, and I want you to when you do it. And I want you to send me that updated artwork, because Armored Ephesian, your stuff is great. But I'm telling you right now, bro, if you get an iPad Mini, your stuff will be phenomenal. Phenomenal. And then I'll be coming to you, be like, yo, come on with me on this book. So just saying. All right.
So the second part of his question, so did you think about doing a tutorial video for your artwork?
Yes. Yeah, my semester just started. I teach at 2 schools, so it's like my time is a little bit limited with grading and stuff, but I will definitely try to find some time to carve out to do some tutorial videos. As long as there's interest. If there is interest in it, I will definitely do it. I just have to find the time to do it. Okay, well, shoot, maybe Nitro and me, we can get together, figure something out, and we can just do like a little tutorial series or whatever. But if you'd be down with that, I think that'd be very cool to partner up like that. But yeah, man, I'm definitely down with that.
All right, so we have one last question, and I think it's the question that everybody is wanting to ask, including myself.
Oh yeah, after reading chapter 1, I wanted to ask this.
When do we get to see Goliath?
I love that question. I always get it. Okay,
that's the first question I had last stream.
You can already see glimpses of Goliath in chapter 1. Okay,
you definitely got a tease.
For those of you guys who have not gotten the book, get it. You'll see glimpses. Goliath started as a myth and a mystery in Dominion. Okay, but of course we are going to see him. You will more than likely see him at the end of book 3. That's going to be out Q1 2021. So book 3 is going to be the beginning of the rise of House David, whereas book 3 is also going to be the end of this. Well, I mean, the House of Saul, it starts to fall, but it won't be completely fallen at the end of book 3. But it's going to be, this is the beginning of the end for Saul. But yes, you're going to see Goliath at the end of book 3, Q1 2021.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When that
that's awesome.
That teaser in chapter 1 came out about Goliath, like
that was sick.
I got so excited. Like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for Goliath in this book now.
Well, and I love how you framed it, how he's like a myth and everybody doesn't know if it's a real thing or not. I love that.
You know what though? Someone kind of got into a little argument with me when I posted the Philistine shock trooper. Okay? Because the Philistine shock trooper, I guess the guy thought that was Goliath, and he was kind of telling me how that is Goliath, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm the one that designed it. I know what it is. This is not Goliath.
I know.
So I'm like, how are you telling me that that's Goliath, and I know it's not Goliath? So I'm like, no, it's not Goliath. Yes, he looks fearsome, and he's a living weapon, and I know the Bible called I think the Bible referred to Goliath as a living weapon or something like that. And I get
Yeah.
that and I understand that, but that wasn't the way I was referring. That was not how I was using words. I was referring to the fact that this Philistine shock trooper is a living weapon. So Goliath, you're going to be completely surprised because he's not going to be anything you expect.
That's awesome. I'm super pumped.
I can't wait to see it. Just like the way that you've altered everything in the story and the way you've made it such this massive scale, to then translate that to something like Goliath, which was this larger than life, massive character. Like, I can't wait to see how that translates into the story. It's I'm hyped
Well,
for
thank I gotta give thanks to my co-writer Daniel Hancock too, because I conceived the story, but he's helping me hone it and kind of build connective tissue so that everything can kind of flow. So Daniel Hancock definitely, and he's also the one who directed the audio portion for our trailer. He also directed a very, very good um, uh, audio drama about the life of Jesus called End of Darkness. And so
awesome.
we're going to be putting that up on our website. I mean, that's I'm telling you right now, Amazon, it's on Amazon. You can cop that. Just type in End of Darkness, Daniel Hancock. You'll find it. Grab it, because I'm telling you right now, it is a phenomenally beautiful audio rendition of the life and death of Jesus. And so God has blessed us with really good people. Mark Stansel, the editor-in-chief, owner of Terminus Media, he took a chance on me with my first book, Radio Free America, and then he's still riding with me with this new direction that the company is going in for family-friendly entertainment and with Dominion. So I appreciate him in that respect too. And then of course my team, Hunter Riggs, who did the inks on Dominion, and Christopher Hunt, who did the colors, and we got behind the scenes people too. And so it's been really good, man. We've been really blessed. Even with Sebastian, who's coming on board to handle Spanish language translation. It's just like, I never conceived how this could go when I sat down and started writing this little derivative of the Bible. So, it's been a blessing.
That's awesome. And just to kind of finish up the last comments, then we just got Armored Ephesian saying thank you for answering the questions, and Visual Litany saying now I know what to ask for Christmas. I think that's back in reference to the iPad mini.
Listen, you guys, please get him and then send me pictures of you holding it up, because I want proof. I want proof of life.
There you go. You've been challenged.
I'm telling you right now.
You've been challenged now.
And I'm telling you right now, I'm challenging all of my students too. I'm like, listen, man. And in my whole studio, we all use iPad minis and Apple Pencils or Procreate. That's what we do. And so it's like, if you are not using that, you need to, as an artist, do yourself a favor. Your iPad mini is going to be the best sketchbook you ever own in your life. It's small, it's portable. I carry this with me in my bag. I take it with me in the bank, everywhere. So it's like I'm drawing Dominion anywhere I go. So, I'm just saying. I'm sorry I didn't get paid by Apple to.
I was going to say somebody's laboring for a sponsorship from Apple here. But I think that is the end of our questions in chat. Just El Tommy giving some laughing faces. I think that was in reference to the argument about Goliath being the shock trooper that you posted. Anything else you wanted to ask to finish up, Nitro? Any other things you wanted to wrap up with?
No, that's it. I really appreciate your time, Dr. Bell. We definitely got to have you back on. We could talk. I could talk about this stuff forever. So
let's talk about doing some type of tutorial type situation, because I'll definitely partner with you guys to do that, and I think that'd be a really good
absolutely
idea.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, whatever works for your schedule, so we can definitely figure something out.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
Nitro, I'll let you talk with Dr. Bell about that. You all set that up, and I think that sounds like a phenomenal idea. But yeah, thank you so much again, Dr. Bell, just for coming out and just spending time in the podcast with us. It's been absolutely amazing.
Oh, no problem, man. It's been a blast. You are leaning into my skill set. So it's like, I love teaching and I love art and I love drawing comic books and talking about comic books. So it's like, that's really...
well, we are so glad to have you.
Yeah, and a special shout out to everybody that stopped by to chat and ask questions too. That's awesome.
I can't believe you had 200 people. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's I don't get me wrong. In the back of my head, I was like, it'd be really cool if we hit that today. But at the same time, part of me was kind of like, yeah, we're not going to hit that, and then we've blown past it by a couple of extra follows. So thank you for
Oh, that's
everyone that's
awesome.
came and supported the channel, and for anyone in the chat as well. If y'all are a streamer, just give me a shout out, put a number 1 in chat or something, and let me know, because I want to do a shout out. I'm going to do a shout out again to One Geek 411, good friends of the podcast, who are doing their podcast tomorrow night on Twitch in their channel. And then let me just also post Dr. Bell stuff, if I can remember how to spell. And that's the link to the shop at Terminus Media. So go ahead, if you've not picked it up yet. Chapter 1 is now available. It is available digitally on PDF. It's available physical copy. Go ahead, go and pick that up. And if you really, really want to go and grab some of that as well, then you know there's extra merchandise there. You want to get some t-shirts, you want to get some other stuff, why not?
Right.
Go ahead and pick that up as well. And then 100% follow.
Guys, I actually have to run.
No problem at all. We're just wrapping
All right.
up anyway.
Thank you again, Dr. Bell. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Dr. Bell. You take care. Have a good day, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll see you later. And for anyone still in chat, that is the social media links for Dr. Bell there. Go ahead and give him a follow. You will not regret it. He is a phenomenal man. I mean, you got to see that for yourself.
Yeah, and Posy, don't worry. We should have the video on our platforms a little later today. And Dr. Bell has already said he would come back, so
yeah, 100%.
We'll definitely have another chat with him at some point.
Oh, Posy, so I just saw your message there, Posy. Sorry, things have been flying past me so fast. Yeah, so it is the end of the podcast, and we are at it. I will get that put up, probably not tonight, but probably tomorrow some point. At the very latest on Tuesday, it'll be up on our YouTube page. Let me head over to our YouTube channel, go ahead and click on that link and hit subscribe, and that will be going up in the next few days. The whole thing is recorded here, so that will be going up there, so you'll get a chance to hear Dr. Bell talk.
It's really bugging me. It's really bugging me that the counter is at 199 and 99.50%. We really can't go over 200 while we're actually on the air. It's all good. I know we are officially. But
I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know if it's because I clicked
me
off the channel or whatever, because like we're like 202 now. So honestly, a massive thank you to everyone who's came and followed the channel. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who's came out. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm blown away. We've had like double figures for most of the podcast today. We've hit 200 followers here on Twitch.
Today's was awesome. Today's chat was awesome.
Peyton Panel had... Wow, we've got follows. That came up as a subscription on my video for some reason. I have no idea why, but Peyton Panel, thank you for that follow. And then Elsa the Cat, thank you for that follow as well. Welcome you both.
We did it.
You have been waiting for that counter. He has been desperate for that counter to hit 200.
We freaking did it.
So with those two...
200.
Well, it says 200 in the chat. We actually broke that already. Let me pull it up on my phone, because I think we're like... Oh, that's my YouTube, LOL, and Elsa is my cat. Oh, that's your YouTube. That's your YouTube did it. Jack Tyler just subscribed. Are we getting subscribers via our YouTube that are like coming up here? Because I don't know why it's doing that.
I don't care. It's over 100% now, and that's all I care about.
Yeah. Well, followers. Followers. I don't know if you can see it on my phone. The actual follower count, if this focuses, is actually like 202.
Nice.
I don't know. Nah, it's not focusing, but like it says 202, so. You can just be happy that the counter's made up. Thank you for those subscriptions. Posy, if it was you and your cat subscribing to us on YouTube. Thank you for the congratulations, Jackalope.
That's okay.
He's fine. All right. So we are actually out, and congratulations to our followers. Thank you so much, Terminus. All right. Let's go quickly raid someone, because I've got to go and feed the family, because I can hear starving children starting to...
Yeah, we got to bounce.
Motor. So anyone standing out? You know what, let's go see Behaving Beard. Like, we've not visited him for a while. So we're going to go see a friend of ours who plays Sea of Thieves, Behaving Beardly. Go and give him a lot of love, give him a follow, give him a shout out from the Comic Clan, and give him congratulations as well. He recently just became a partner, I believe, alongside Sea of Thieves for what he's been doing with the game. So we're going to go ahead and raid his channel. So stick around to give him some love at least. If you can't stick around for his stream, that's fine. But at least stick around and at least say hi and drop him a follow. That would be awesome, guys. But we are all finished up for today. Oh, one last thing I do want to do, actually. If you missed it at the start, go ahead and check out Eric Stephen, the provider of our new official song for opening up our podcast, Geek, and go and check him out on Spotify as well. Alright, but for everyone else, have an amazing weekend, and we will see you all next Sunday. Take care and have a good evening.